Good afternoon, dear listeners. The migration scandal rocking the South Caucasus threatens to turn into a real catastrophe for hundreds of thousands of people. And the elite's political games have reached the point of no return. Russia is preparing to deal a crushing blow to Azerbaijani migrants. And this decision could change the fates of millions. Today we will discuss how President Aliyev's political ambitions have put his own people at risk, why Moscow is losing patience, and what awaits Azerbaijani migrants in the very near future. Relations between Azerbaijan and Russia are rapidly deteriorating, and tensions have already crossed the line that would trigger a real crisis with catastrophic consequences. Baku is sounding the alarm in panic, as increasingly alarming signals are coming from Moscow that Russia's migration policy could be radically revised, posing a direct threat to hundreds of thousands of Azerbaijanis who earn their living in Russia. Sources in government circles are whispering that this isn't just a cosmetic change, but a full-scale tightening of entry regulations, potentially even banning Azerbaijani citizens from Russia altogether. Experts are unanimous. The escalation was triggered by a series of provocative actions by the Azerbaijani leadership, which Moscow perceived as outright hostility and a disregard for the long-standing ties between the two countries. Official Baku is choking with complaints about mass detentions and deportations of Azerbaijani citizens, claiming that Russian law enforcement is creating intolerable conditions deliberately to push migrants back to their homeland. The number of complaints is snowballing, and Azerbaijani media outlets are already fanning the flames, fueling rumors of a targeted campaign of persecution and discrimination. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, as Azerbaijani opposition movements have simultaneously become more active in Russia, holding rallies and conferences openly criticizing the Aliyev regime. In Baku, this is perceived as Moscow's covert support for the current government's political opponents, further fueling the fire and deepening mutual distrust. Moscow has traditionally avoided interfering in Azerbaijan's internal affairs, but now the situation has changed, and this is perceived by the Azerbaijani leadership as an alarming sign of a shift in Russian foreign policy. The most shocking aspect of this story is the threat of a complete ban on Azerbaijani migrants entering Russia, which is already being openly discussed in the corridors of power. This isn't just empty talk, but a real prospect that could materialize at any moment. Analysts are openly panicking. This would be a real disaster for the Azerbaijani economy, as remittances from migrant workers account for a colossal share of the population's income, and without this influx of funds, social tensions in the country would skyrocket. Experts predict chaos and political destabilization. Tens of thousands of Azerbaijanis will find themselves without jobs and livelihoods, and the local labor market is simply unable to absorb such an avalanche of returning migrants. Law enforcement sources are whispering that the head of Russia's investigative committee, Alexander Bystrykin, has already received corresponding instructions to radically tighten migration policy. This isn't a spontaneous initiative, but a deliberate policy, coordinated at the very top of the Kremlin's power structure. Bystrykin, known for his iron grip and penchant for making tough public statements, has already made it clear that migration flows in major Russian cities must be systematically regulated, and his comments on the unacceptability of the uncontrolled presence of foreigners on Russian territory have sparked heated debate in the media and among experts. He emphasized that the measures will be comprehensive and will affect not only Azerbaijanis but also migrants from other countries, hinting at a large-scale reform of Russia's entire migration system. Insiders are discussing the revolutionary idea of introducing a rotational principle for migrants, under which foreigners would be allowed to stay in Russia for only a limited period, say, 6 months, after which they would be required to leave the country. While these measures are formally justified by the need to maintain public order and combat illegal migration, in reality, this system could radically reduce the influx of migrant workers, making their stay in Russia economically unviable for most of them. For Azerbaijanis, this effectively means the closure of a traditional migration route. Short-term visits with forced departures will prevent them from maintaining stable jobs and their usual income levels. Russian employers seeking long-term labor will likely prefer to seek alternatives among Russian citizens or those categories of migrants who will be less subject to the new rules.